name is Bryon Howard. I'm a Calgary realtor who has sold an average of a house a week since moving to this great city in 2003, and this is Calgary Living. I'm interviewing Calgary's top performers as it relates to living and lifestyle in our great city. Some of the podcasts will be real estate decisions specific, but most will be about life in Calgary and why we choose to live here, or at least why you should visit. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, folks, welcome to another edition of Living in Calgary. Today, I'm excited to have on the show Ken Crockett. Ken and I kind of know each other for a little while, but more through the great app of Strava. Ken's an ambitious and interested rider. I think probably not only for the riding, but for the joy of and the love of the sport, but also all of his work with Habitat for Humanity. In 2014, Ken started an inaugural ride. I'm saying that word kind of wrong, but he started a Ride Through the Rockies, a charity event that is based out of Canmore, at least in 2021 it is. It's about bringing together folks to commit to riding together and raising a lot of money, I think primarily for Habitat for Humanity. Ken is a manager at Star Building Materials. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you so much, Bryon. I'm excited to be part of your podcast.
That was great. And as I was explaining just before we hit record here, I do this show because it's an opportunity to speak to great people like you in our city and have a little bit of a deeper conversation about what drives you, about your life and your reason d'etre in Calgary. To begin with, did I introduce you correctly, Ken? Is that more or less how you might introduce yourself?
Yeah. I mean, that's always such a tough question or a tough thing to try and introduce yourself. I certainly wouldn't say that I'm an extrovert by any means. So I'm the vice president for Star Building Materials. I've been in the construction industry my entire life. And as I tell people, I tend to bleed sawdust. Because that's what I grew up in right from the early days, working on the job site with my father, and got me into the supply side of the business, and I've been in there ever since.
Oh, interesting. Very good. Very, very curious. In terms of careers and career choices and stuff, it sounds like you grew up into that business. Many have said about becoming like what I do as a realtor, nobody sort of, well, maybe some do, I think at this point, but hardly anyone dreams of growing up and becoming a realtor or maybe a taxi driver or what we follow into these kind of professions for whatever way. How about in your industry as VP of such a big company, Star Building Materials? Like, did you growing up see what your dad did? Is that what you wanted to do, or did you happen to fall into the business as well?
Interesting. I saw what my dad did because my dad was on the call it the hammer side of the business. He was a builder, and so I was always one of the grunts on the site, moving lumber around and doing everything that I was told to do. And I always said I never want to do that. Growing up. So I got started when I was 16 at a hardware store and just worked my way up through the business. So I couldn't say by any means that was a career choice at that point. But as I worked through the business, it very clearly started to become a career. And I think that's such an interesting part of our industry. Many people, right from the trade side of it to the supply side and right from the builder side, no one really goes to school for that. Right. Yet it is such a rewarding industry and it can be such a great career long term. And it is one that I love to see younger people coming into, and wherever they start out, there's many steps through it, especially from the supply chain side. I started out loading trucks with 2x4s and kind of made my way through to the position I'm in today.
Well, that's really great and interesting. Did you grow up in Calgary?
I didn't. I grew up in Alberta, just outside of Edmonton. And so, yes, I am an Oilers fan. Don't hold that against me, but I love Calgary. I did move around a little bit as a youngster and did some time in Kelowna, back to Edmonton, and I've been in Calgary now since 2009, so about 12 years.
So 2009, so you arrived here right after, probably 6 months or 8 months of our boom of 2008, which ended October 2008. So what brought you to Calgary in 2009?
It was this particular job. I was running one of our divisions in Edmonton that they relocated me to Calgary, and that's what brought me to Calgary. And that was probably early 2009, just at the height, or call it it was pretty busy at that time, but
Oh, was it?
as the boom was ending. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, well, Calgary is lucky to have you, as
Yeah.
witnessed in the last 7 years of Ride Through the Rockies. What is it that you love most about Calgary?
Oh man, both my wife and I think you get such a perspective of the prairies, yet of the mountains. We're sitting just on the edge, so the amount of sunshine that we get in comparison, when we both my wife and I grew up, part of our lives in Kelowna, and you spend a lot of the winter there under the clouds, very gray skies, and to have the open sky of the prairies, yet to have the mountains in the background, boy, that's pretty majestic.
That's great. It sure is. And tell me about your interest in real estate. What are some of your real estate decisions that you've made? I guess maybe prior to coming to Calgary, have you been in the same community?
Yeah,
Whereabouts did you move
I
when you
haven't.
arrived?
Yeah, we do enjoy moving. Since we've been married, my wife and I have been married nearly 27 years, and we've moved about 12 times through that time period. We've never really been, call it, tied to our house. It's been a place to live, and we've enjoyed the process of selling and buying. We have built a couple of our own houses and then sold and moved on. So I was probably driven to that somewhat from my childhood, growing up with a mom and dad that were in the building business. So it was a lot of cases you're building and selling constantly. So that certainly intrigued me. And again, I've never been tied to the house I'm living in. So it's pretty easy on a whim to decide, okay, let's move on somewhere else.
Wow, I love that. As you said that, for the first time, I realized that I don't move a lot. Like I've only moved in my marriage of I think almost the exact same. I think we're 28 years in November. I think we've only been in 3 houses. Well, maybe 4.
Wow.
Actually, yeah,
Yeah.
3 houses that we've owned and 1 rental when we first moved to Calgary in 2003. Wow, that's interesting that you think of the house as a place to really sleep, I guess, and family congregates, but you're able to move fairly much on a whim. 12 years,
Yeah.
12 times.
Yeah,
in
12
like
times.
27-ish years.
And again, I've loved every house that we've been in every community, and haven't left for any real reason, I could say. We just get the itch and decide for a change.
I'm curious. I've heard about real estate for years and years and years prior to becoming a realtor, and maybe first looking at becoming an investor in real estate. It's they say location, location, location. So I came to Calgary in 2003 and whatever decided where I was going to live. But based on, I decided kind of what I thought might happen to the market. And I also started investing in real estate. But since being here now for almost 20 years, I keep saying people, it's not location, location, but in Alberta, it's timing, timing, timing. In those 12 moves, do you always make money on your real estate? I'm curious.
Yeah, we have.
You have? Wow, that's
great. Our last one was probably the tightest. We probably broke even on it at the end of the day, but we have been fortunate enough that we've profited each time. We've certainly put it into the next house that we've purchased as we've gone forward. So it's been more than a positive experience. But yeah, this market, I could say, I've heard the term, it's a roller coaster ride in this market. You're either clickety clickety clack as you're waiting for the anticipation of what's to come down the other side, and then she's down the way you go, right? So I think it's a good analogy of the Calgary market is the roller coaster.
Right. Currently, so in Calgary, there's usually 2 types of people. Those that live in the not types, I'm saying, but maybe those that live on the north side of the Bow River and those that live in the south. Where did you land?
I am in the south. I probably more like the south, more for the cycling aspect and being able to get out to the mountains.
South of 22X, yes.
Yeah, to get out a little quicker into the roads that are so nice to ride and so quiet, kind of in that southwest quadrant. Yeah.
Nice. My next sort of standard question in my podcasting is what's really easy for you these days? And I assume, and maybe this will take us down the path to your organization and involvement with Ride Through the Rockies. I find when we have our work and our lives and our families, but then when we're kind of interested or passionate about something and we're, maybe fostering and developing community, it can be kind of easy. Is that true for you about Ride Through the Rockies?
Oh, certainly. Cycling became a passion of mine after I finished, I'll call it a short hockey career. I played junior A hockey, and when I left junior A hockey at the age of 21, I needed something to keep myself fit and busy, and that led me down the path of cycling, which I've been doing ever since the age of 21. Certainly an easy passion to not only talk about, but to get other people enthused about and excited about. And something that's probably come through the ride through the Rockies is taking someone out of their comfort zone and showing them that it's possible and helping them to achieve something that they didn't believe they could achieve before. And this ride has certainly brought that to the forefront for me. And I've been able to bring people from the industry into cycling that never thought that they would not only get on a bike, but put on a pair of spandex.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And I guess the group that you try to keep fairly small and within the industry of, it seems like real estate. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know what? I'll maybe go back to where the idea came from. Our parent company, Qualico Developments, really started this ride in Manitoba, and it's called Ride Around the Lake. They ride out in the Kenora area. And so in 2013, I was invited to go out and do that ride. And I came away from that group just so inspired and lit up with the passion that everyone had, not only for cycling, but for Habitat for Humanity. And I came back from that and I called our president and said, geez, I really would like to start this ride in Calgary. Will you support me with it? And of course, call it the rest is history. It was easy for me to keep it industry specific in that, of course, it's a tie to Habitat for Humanity. It's about building houses and affordability, and that fit well with our business. And I was in a position where I could maybe twist the arm of the odd person that would come out and join me in doing the ride and raising some money for a great cause.
Oh, interesting. Great. Well, I want to thank you. I am honored to be a part of it this year and looking forward to it. So thanks for reaching out to me and including me on that. It's a real pleasure to be looking forward to that and hopefully getting on a few training rides with you and our colleagues.
Yes, soon.
Yes, it's time. Great. And so tell us a little bit more about Ride Through the Rockies, sort of the nutshell. What is the ride and what is the fundraising commitment that you're asking of riders?
Yeah. So it's a 3-day ride. We did start it early on in the days, probably the first 3 or 4 years where we did a 4-day ride. We shortened that down to 3. We do make it challenging. So it's not just a 60-kilometer, 2-hour style ride. It tends to be in the 120 to 140 kilometers a day. We do ride in the Rockies, so we've included, it doesn't have to be this year, but we've ridden the Highwood Pass. We do ride out to Lake Louise and some of those routes that are beautiful yet challenging. We do cap the ride at 30 riders, so we keep the group small so that we keep the camaraderie tight. And really, I look for energetic, passionate people that want to help others and want to have a lot of fun on the way. We do ask that each rider tries to raise $2,500. That's kind of the goal. It's not a set in stone, or we don't come chasing after you after the ride if you haven't. We've been more than successful in most riders not only achieving $2,500, but in some cases as high as $10,000. So each year we've raised enough to build a house. And so that's a goal of ours, is to build a house each year. Star Building Materials and Qualico, we put up the money for the administration of the ride so that 100% of the proceeds go directly to Habitat for Humanity and go into building a house for a family.
Wow, interesting. Just out of curiosity, I mean, the Habitat for Humanity, as I understand it, and have been involved in a couple of builds. Does the group of riders ever meet to participate in swinging hammers or anything like that? Is that ever happened?
Yeah, there certainly has been. One of the coolest things to be a part of that is the house dedication, and to actually see the family get the keys and to be a part of that celebration and to see just how much it takes to actually put a family in a home and the amount of hours that they have to put in to get to that point. And so I've been to a few dedications, and actually, hopefully we can have you out in the next one. We do pull a group of the riders together each year to go out to the dedication for the house that we've built. And it's such a rewarding part of the process. To be on the hammer side of it, though, I haven't myself. We have had riders certainly be on that side of it.
Nice. Winding down in our show today, it's been a real pleasure. Wow, a couple of questions and thoughts. If a rider wanted to become involved, maybe not this year, I think you're full, or another year, how would they reach out? That's one.
Yeah.
Secondly, if somebody wanted to participate or sponsor me,
Yes.
they could look for the link in the show notes, which I will include. I do have a fundraiser type page. And finally, how do people reach out to you, or what's the best way to kind of connect with yourself?
Yeah, well, certainly through me, LinkedIn is a great spot. I'm active on LinkedIn and Instagram, both through my name, Ken Crockett. I go on my Instagram as Sprocket and Grinds, my love of cycling and coffee. So you can find me on Instagram. And of course, certainly through Star Building Materials, you'll be able to connect with me. Participate in the ride. Yeah, we are full for this year from our 3-day ride, but a very exciting thing that happened last year, of course, with the COVID that we ran into, we didn't have a 3-day ride last year. And so we created a virtual ride last year, and we raised a great amount of money doing it. And we had a lot of riders that joined us virtually on a ride day. And so we tied that into this year's ride, and we're about to launch, moving into June, the virtual registrations, of which we want each rider that signed up to bring virtual riders into their group in support of them while they're on the ride. And so that's a great way to get connected with the ride, get connected with Habitat for Humanity, and get yourself out on a bike and be a part of building a house for a family that's right here in Calgary. And so that'll be coming out soon. It'll be a link through Habitat for Humanity, Southern Alberta's website as well. We'll have some social media going out through our Star accounts. And of course, if you connect with me on either Instagram or LinkedIn, you'll be able to find some of those resources as well.
Well, that's exciting. I look forward to learning more about that and participating in that as well. Well, that's super. Well, Ken, unless there's anything else, I want to thank you for being a great guest on the show.
I thank you so much, Bryon. I'm really looking forward to getting out on a ride with you. And like I'd said, your energy is contagious. And I've been following you for a while, and I'm so excited to be part of your podcast, and hope that we can get out on the wheels, get out on the road here soon.
We will. Looking forward to it.